I'm Zoe Delahunty Light, and it's time for the final part of my God of War complete story recap. I heartily recommend watching the other two parts before you play this one, as it is obviously full of spoilers, and with that, I want to get started because there's a lot to get through, so here we go. Kratos goes to Helheim and retrieves Matugur Helson's heart, glimpsing Hreysvelgr in the distance. Surprisingly, the giant creature doesn't seem to care that Kratos has killed the Bridgekeeper. Kratos, however, is a different story. He appears sorrowful that he murdered the troll for nothing more than what is essentially an ingredient. With a brutal wrench of his arms, the Bridgekeeper's chest cavity comes apart, and after obtaining the heart, Kratos looks back at the ravaged corpse. You can see a twinge of regret in the Spartan. On his way out of Helheim, Kratos sees a vision of Zeus, his father, murdered by Kratos' own hand. Helheim, according to Mimir, tortures its inhabitants with visions of the past, and it went right to the heart of Kratos' pain with that sight. Good work, Helheim. Back in Midgard, Atreus is cured of his fever by Freya. Terrified that his son might fall victim to the Ruthless Sickness once more, Kratos finally tells Atreus that he, just like his father and his father before him, is a god. Atreus has been surrounded his whole life by tales of gods who wreak havoc on the world below without any thought to the consequences, and is worryingly thrilled to join their ilk. The boy who was once considerate, compassionate, and mindful turns into an arrogant little shit who becomes downright cruel. Atreus fixates on his belief that, like the irresponsible gods his mother told him of, he and Kratos can do whatever they want because they're gods. Atreus is especially cruel to Sindri. Quite understandably, the germaphobe dwarf laments his broken relationship with Brock, and Atreus interjects by ignorantly calling his problems little people problems, which I don't know about you, but makes me physically recoil. Mimir becomes Atreus' next target, dismissing his cautions and calling their kind guide Head instead of Mimir, just like Kratos does. But Kratos doesn't call Mimir Head to be rude, he just does it in his usual brusque way, the same way he calls Atreus boy. Atreus is doing it with much more venom. He does it to hurt Mimir, and judging by Mimir's silence, it works and worries him. Still on the hunt for the Black Room, which will allow the trio to travel to Jotunheim, back to Tyr's temple it is. During their descent down into the bowels of the Bridge Temple, tapestries of Tyr's diplomatic outreaches to different cultures look down upon Kratos, Atreus, and Mimir. Tyr was up to something. Despite being the god of war himself, Tyr sought peace between the lands, but the tapestries do not tell all. Tyr's temple holds treasures uncounted from his travels to the lands outside Midgard, some unfamiliar and some not. Upon a pedestal, Kratos finds a vase painted with the ghost of Sparta in full bloodlust, blades dripping with blood. It smashes before Atreus can see it. Tyr loves his traps, and he scattered them all around his temple to protect the Black Room from anyone, namely Odin if I had to take a wild guess, and one of these traps rubs Freya's protection mark off of Kratos' neck. Kratos saves one single thing from Tyr's vault, an amphora of Greek wine. Father and son share it in a rare moment of peace, having a sweet moment where Atreus even imitates his father savouring the drink. Kratos even smiles. With the Black Room and the chisel tip in hand, the gate to Jotunheim can finally be opened, so it's back to the highest peak in Midgard. Bloody and beaten, Modi ambushes Atreus and Kratos in the heart of the mountain, Thor's wrath having been rained down upon him as punishment for letting Magni, Thor's favourite son, die. Despite Kratos deeming Modi not a threat, Atreus murders Modi in his weakened state, against his father's wishes, provoking shock, anger, and possibly a tiny bit of dread in Kratos at Atreus' rash decision. During the climb to the peak of the mountain, Atreus straight up ignores any buttons you press or words of advice from his father. He will not always obey your commands, as now he knows he's a god, Atreus has decided he knows better than you, and therefore Kratos. One especially stupid thing Atreus does is attack an ancient without Kratos' say-so, becoming markedly more violent and using way more melee attacks to stab at Draugr viciously with his knife. Baldur ambushes the pair at Midgard's peak after Kratos uses the Black Rune to open the gate to Jotunheim, and Atreus decides now is the perfect time to pick a fight with Baldur. Following Kratos trying to protect his son, the Spartan accidentally destroys the gate to Jotunheim. Baldur swiftly seizes Atreus as the rash boy gets way too close to the unstable god and gets knocked out. His plan is to take the boy to Odin and attempts to fly him to Asgard, but Kratos manages to send them to Helheim instead. Now, thoroughly in a situation that is completely of Atreus' own doing due to his arrogance ruling his senses for more than one idiotic moment, Kratos lets rip on Atreus for being so irresponsible. It's like Helheim hears Kratos' fury and chooses that moment to show Atreus how cold he was when he murdered Modi. It's this that finally forces Atreus to realise what he's become, and the young boy owns up to his mistakes. Good boy, Atreus. I knew you could do it. Helheim works its torturous magic on Baldur too, who is stranded within the realm of the dead just like Kratos and Atreus. They find out Baldur is Freya's son when they see him circling a vision of Freya when she first enchanted/cursed Baldur with invulnerability. Baldur goads his past self, frustrated that he didn't kill his mother then and there. Mimir was awfully quiet about that revelation, especially considering he was Odin's advisor and would have absolutely known about Baldur's lineage. Kratos, understandably suspicious, asks Mimir why he didn't tell them Baldur was Freya's son, and a stunned Mimir realises he's been bewitched by Freya to remain silent on the topic. Who knows what other stealthy magic she weaved when she was reviving him. Kratos is made to confront his own past too when a vision of himself murdering Zeus appears on the ship out of Helheim as a final parting blow. Atreus sees it too, but doesn't know the significance of it, shaking his father out of his stupor as the pair escape Helheim. In Midgard, when exploring Tyr's temple at long last, they realise that Tyr, being such a trusted friend of the giants, had Bifrost crystal eyes which let him travel between realms whenever he wished. Only the closest friends of the giants got these Bifrost crystal eyes and their accompanying secret ability. You know who else had Bifrost crystal eyes before Odin ripped one out? Mimir. In Tyr's temple, they find the Unity Stone, which will negate any need for the now destroyed Jotunheim Gate, as it allows them to travel to the realm between realms and get to Jotunheim that way. But it doesn't work. Mimir's missing eye is the problem. Here, Mimir's bewitchment becomes apparent once more when he trails off when speaking of Baldur's weakness. Freya has done something else to prevent him from talking about her son, and Mimir, despite being the smartest man alive, had absolutely no idea. On the hunt for Mimir's missing eye, Brock and Sindri reveal that it's probably hidden in the secret compartment in the Thor statue they built for Odin, but there is one problem. Jormungandr, having bitten Thor's statue in half, has swallowed said eye. There's nothing else for them to do but to go down Jormungandr's throat and retrieve it. The World Serpent isn't too happy about it. Eye in hand, the journey out the serpent's throat is made all the more rapid when Baldur beats Jormungandr into unconsciousness, causing him to spit out the trio at Thamur's corpse. Arriving as a hawk, which would explain the feathers in her hair, Freya appears, who has sensed Baldur is in Midgard and seeks to make amends, inspired by Kratos and Atreus. Baldur appears from the ocean, making his third dramatic entrance of the game, reunites with Freya acrimoniously, and then turns his attention towards the father and son. Can you guess what he does next? Yeah, he fights them. Baldur decides that it's acceptable to punch a child in the chest and sends Atreus flying, sending Kratos into something close to a panic as blood pools on Atreus' chest. But it's not Atreus that's bleeding, it's Baldur. The mistletoe arrow Kratos used to repair his quiver has pierced Baldur's skin, breaking Freya's invulnerability spell, and at long last, Baldur can feel everything. Despite being cured of his curse, Baldur still intends to murder Freya in revenge for all the suffering he's endured, the seething resentment within him having long since grown into hate. Kratos, knowing Freya doesn't deserve death, will not allow it. Balder, Kratos and Atreus fight viciously, and although she dearly wishes to, Freya can't intervene as a spell Odin put on her prevents her from harming anyone. So, like the legend she is, she finds a loophole and reanimates Thamur the Giant to stop them. One crucial thing to point out here is that during the fight, you press buttons which directly control Atreus, showing how close the father and son have grown. Atreus' fighting skills are phenomenal at this point. Atreus channels his godly gifts by summoning Jormungandr for help, and the World Serpent tackles Thamur, killing him once again. Kratos' hands are around Balder's neck once more, but this time it's Atreus who stops his father from murdering a god, speaking the exact same words Kratos said about Modi, not a threat. Balder is given the chance to flee, but not knowing when to quit, he starts to strangle Freya, who is willing to give her life to heal the past and make her son whole again. Kratos seizes Balder, says the cycle has to be broken, and breaks Balder's neck. He dies for good this time. Balder's last moments are filled with his first experience of rapturous pain, and he expires with a smile on his face. Freya swears revenge on Kratos, as you can probably understand, and begins to mock him about his past, which remains unknown to Atreus. Before she can say anything, Kratos steps up and finally tells Atreus that he massacred the Greek gods, including his father, Zeus. Atreus says they should learn from their mistakes, yet he asks if gods are always destined to kill their parents. Kratos says they simply have to be better than that. Freya silently leaves with Balder's corpse, and Mimir, a bit naively if you ask me, expresses his wish that she's able to move on and reassures Kratos that he did the right thing. The three of them open the path to Jotunheim, and knowing this is something Kratos and Atreus need to do alone, Mimir waits in the bridge with Sindri and Brock. Jotunheim is devoid of life. No giants await their arrival, no voices fill the halls. Among the ruins, father and son discover a mural of their adventures carved long ago. Faye herself is revealed to be the giant Laufey, whose own gift of precognition meant she foresaw everything that was to come. When her kin fled to Jotunheim to escape Odin's wrath, Faye was one of two giants, the other one being Jormungandr, to stay in Midgard to ensure those events came to pass. She predicted everything, and such was her power as the Guardian of Midgard that she was known by the gods. It was Faye who Balder was after when he first encountered Kratos, as he had no idea she was already dead. Kratos and Atreus climb to the peak of Jotunheim and see giants' corpses strewn around them, confirming that the giants who fled Midgard are no more. Faye's ashes dance in the wind as she's finally back home. One final twist lands when it's revealed that Faye wanted to name Atreus Loki, but Kratos convinced her to name him Atreus after a Spartan comrade. Kratos tells the tale of Atreus, one of his fellow Spartans who, despite the grimness of their existence, always lifted the spirits of those around him. Kratos cared for him so much that he buried him personally. In Midgard, Mimir says the father and son have been gone much longer than they realise, with Sindri and Brock telling them that Fimbulwinter has begun, due to last 3 years, after which Ragnarok is coming. But somehow, Fimbulwinter has started ahead of its prophesied time, as it wasn't supposed to happen for another century. Somehow, Kratos and Atreus have changed destiny. They return home for a very well-deserved sleep, and while dreaming, Atreus has a vision of Thor arriving at their door. But that's a prediction for another time. There we go, that's the final part of the complete God of War story recap. Let me know in the comments below who you'd like to see a lore video on from God of War, or any other games you're interested in getting stuck into lore-wise. You can find a video game lore playlist on the Eurogamer channel, so if you're interested in forbidden/hidden knowledge, make sure to subscribe and check the playlist out, and keep an eye on the channel for more lore videos. Now, I'm gonna go and just buff up my own axe to make sure it's ready for Ragnarok, so I'll see you next time.